Hello and welcome to the podcast. This is Ron's Amazing Stories. We have stories that should thrill you a little and chill you a little.
It's amazing.
What you'll hear are adventures sent in by you guys, classic stories from the pulp mags, and episodes from the golden age of radio. We have special segments like Ghost Stories with Sylvia.
That's amazing.
And These Are Your Stories. So settle in for the next hour and enjoy the show. One more thing. You just might want to prepare yourself to be taken away from today.
Another 5-minute mystery.
This 5-minute mystery is being brought to you by the word masquerade. Life is a masquerade. Everywhere you look, people are hiding behind masks.
What are you trying to say?
Nothing I'm aware of, other than setting up our story for today.
That bad, huh?
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen of the masquerade, I address you as master of the revels. You have been asked to come here disguised in the roles you have all secretly longed for these many years. You are all strangers to one another, your identity known only to yourselves. You will remain within your secret selves till midnight, when you shall unmask and reveal your true selves. But for 3 hours, the mystery of the unknown is yours. I see all manner of people tonight. There is Misto the magician, a gypsy, a peasant, a statesman, a clown such as myself. And there is Cinderella, who at midnight will find that dreams must end. But till midnight, give yourselves to the music, the wine, and the dancing.
And there you have it. The magic of a sorcerer who jumped from apprentice to master in 10 easy lessons.
Oh, show us another, Misto.
Oh, I do not have the time. It is nearly midnight.
Can magicians stop time?
Not in the society I belong to.
Just one more, Misto. We've hardly seen you all night.
I've been walking the air searching for my inspiration.
Misto, come here quickly.
Forgive me, good people. The master of the rebels calls. What is it?
I was just walking in the garden, getting some air, and guess what I found?
How should I know? I'm only a magician.
The girl disguised as Cinderella. She's dead.
What?
What'll we do?
Look, it's almost midnight. Lock the body in a room until I get everyone to unmask. Don't let anyone suspect anything. Then we'll call the police.
Okay, I'll be right back.
It is almost midnight. Prepare to unmask.
Wonderful.
And as you reveal your real selves to one another, the royal prince will become a beggar, the peasant a wealthy man, the gypsy a statesman, the clown a respected philosopher, and Cinderella, poor Cinderella, her horse-drawn coach to become a pumpkin, the birthmark of poverty to show beneath her tired eyes. Midnight! Unmask! I, Misto the magician, stand revealed.
Yes, revealed as a murderer.
How does the clown know that Misto the magician is the murderer of the woman masquerading as Cinderella? In just a moment we'll know, but first...
Ron, why do we persist in torturing our listeners with these silly stories?
Well, that one wasn't too bad. Of course, there were no clues as far as I could tell.
Again, you listen but you do not hear.
What did I miss?
Well, that is a subject much too lengthy to fit this break, but let me ask you this. How did Misto know what Cinderella looked like?
Dang, I totally missed that.
Which is why you are an idiot.
Harsh.
And now, back to our story, The Masquerade. Are you out of your mind?
No, but you must have been, to let the proof of your guilt slip out.
You'd have a good case if you could prove it.
Why did you say birthmark of her poverty beneath her tired eyes? Why such a rich metaphor for Cinderella and a meager one for the others?
She interested me.
To the extent that you knew there was a birthmark beneath her right eye. You didn't know who she was. No one did. She remained masked all evening, yet you knew what lay beneath that mask. Don't tell me that was coincidence. You saw her unmasked.
Yes. Yes, I didn't mean to. It all happened so suddenly.
You should have perfected a disappearing act, friend. It would have stood you in good stead right now.
Well, you were right. Misto was foiled by his own vanity.
That can be a lesson learned.
Oh, how so?
Do not argue with an idiot. He will drag you down to his level and beat you with experience.
Not sure how that applies.
Oh, it doesn't apply to the story, just to you.
You sit around all day and think this stuff up?
Actually, yes I do.
It's that you say?
Hello, and welcome to the podcast. We're back again with more stories hand-selected just for you.
For me. Just for me.
Well, okay, maybe for everyone, but the sentiment is there. On the show, we have a torso-less set of legs walking around. Then we play an episode from the classic radio series, The Shadow, which has an amazing ending, by the way. And we end with a brand new Johnny Is It True? Did You Know edition.
Works for me.
I should hope so. So to get all of this going, we begin with another audiobook review, and this is a good one. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/Ron's Amazing Stories. Audible has sponsored the show now since July of 2019. We have reviewed more than 140 audiobooks, and the list keeps growing. Did you know that Audible has over 200,000 books available? And a lot of those are included in the free catalog. Audible is amazing, and it is the perfect companion to Ron's Amazing Stories. If you like this podcast, you're going to love Audible. So what am I listening to? Artemis by Andy Weir, narrated by Rosario Dawson. Well, Andy's back, and if you haven't figured it out yet, I'm a fan. This time, the best-selling author of The Martian returns with another irresistible thriller, a heist story set on the moon. Jazz Bashira is a criminal. Well, sort of. Life on Artemis, the first and only city on the moon, is tough if you're not a rich tourist or an eccentric billionaire. So smuggling in the occasional harmless bit of contraband barely counts, right? Well, not when you've got debts to pay and your job as a porter barely covers the rent. Everything changes when Jazz sees the chance to commit the perfect crime, with a reward too lucrative to turn down. But pulling off the impossible is just the start of her problems. You see, she learns that she stepped square into a conspiracy for control of Artemis itself. And now her only chance at survival lies in a gambit even riskier than the original crime. Our clip for this one comes from later in the book. We find our hero in a bit of a spot.
I bounded over the gray, dusty terrain toward the huge dome of Conrad Bubble. Its airlock, ringed with red lights, stood distressingly far away. It's hard to run with 100 kilograms of gear on, even in lunar gravity. But you'd be amazed how fast you can hustle when your life is on the line. Bob ran beside me. His voice came over the radio. "Let me connect my tanks to your suit. That'll just get you killed too. The leak's huge," he huffed. "I can see the gas escaping your tanks. Thanks for the pep talk." "I'm the EVA master here," Bob said. "Stop right now and let me cross-connect." "Negative," I kept running. There was a pop right before the leak alarm. Metal fatigue. Got to be the valve assembly. If you cross-connect, you'll puncture your line on a jagged edge. I'm willing to take that risk. I'm not willing to let you, I said. Trust me on this, Bob. I know metal. I switched to long, even hops. It felt like slow motion, but it was the best way to move with all that weight. My helmet's heads-up display said the airlock was 52 meters away. I glanced at my arm readouts. My oxygen reserve plummeted while I watched. So I stopped watching. The long strides paid off. I was really hauling ass now. I even left Bob behind, and he's the most skilled EVA master on the moon. That's the trick. Add more forward momentum every time you touch the ground. But that also means each hop is a tricky affair. If you screw up, you'll faceplant and slide along the ground. EVA suits are tough, but it's best not to grind them against regolith. You're going too fast. If you trip, you could crack your faceplate. Better than sucking vacuum, I said. I've got maybe 10 seconds. I'm way behind you, he said. Don't wait for me. I only realized how fast I was going when the triangular plates of Conrad filled my view. They were growing very quickly. No time to slow down. I made one final leap and added a forward roll. I timed it just right, more out of luck than skill, and hit the wall with my feet. Okay, Bob was right. I had been going way too fast. I hit the ground, scrambled to my feet, and clawed at the hatch crank. My ears popped. Alarms blared in my helmet. The tank was on its last legs. It couldn't counteract the leak anymore. I pushed the hatch open and fell inside. I gasped for breath and my vision blurred. I kicked the hatch closed, reached up to the emergency tank, and yanked out the pin. The top of the tank flew off and air flooded into the compartment. It came out so fast, half of it liquefied into fog particles from the cooling that comes with rapid expansion. I fell to the ground, barely conscious. I panted in my suit and suppressed the urge to puke. That was way the hell more exertion than I'm built for. An oxygen deprivation headache took root. It'd be with me for a few hours, at least. I'd managed to get altitude sickness on the moon. The hiss died to a trickle, then finished.
One of the things that earmarks an Andy Weir story is the narration, and this is a great listen. Bringing to life Weir's brash, whip-smart protagonist is actress Rosario Dawson. Think Marvel's The Defender, Sin City, and Death Proof. With the breathless immediacy of one realizing that they're one cracked helmet visor away from oblivion. Dawson deftly captures Jazz's first-person perspective, all while delivering sarcastic, Weirian one-liners and wisecracking in the face of death. It is a performance that transports you right alongside Jazz. Now, if that appeals to you, head to audibletrial.com/Ron's Amazing Stories, and you can have Artemis for free. Here is what Audible has set up for us. They are offering a free audiobook in 30 days to give you the opportunity to check out their service. This also gains you access into the included catalog, which is updated constantly with new titles. So to download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/Ron's Amazing Stories. Thank you, Audible. And now, it's time for your stories.
These are your stories, sent by you, for you.
Our story for this week is from a returning submitter, Samuel McCarthy, who sent in a story about his adventure with a haunted limousine. It appeared in episode number 417. Sam lives in New York, where he works as a driver for an upscale limo service. He has titled his story, Disappearing White Ghost Legs. Hey Ron, Since I got so much feedback from my last story, I thought I'd share another experience that I had. And yes, I know the title sounds weird, but I really don't know how else to describe it. This happened when I was around 17 or 18 years old. After coming home from my best friend's house late at night, probably midnight to 1 a.m., I pulled into my reserve spot on the driveway, which is perpendicular and offset to the right of our garage. The driver's side door faces my house, so it allowed me to see into my backyard, which is pretty large and very creepy at night. None of the outdoor lights were on, so all that illuminated the yard were my headlights. As I was turning into my spot, I saw what looked like a pair of white, translucent legs walking away from my house towards our pond. At first, I thought it was a burglar, so I immediately got out of my truck and took out my bat and flashlight from behind the seat to ward off whoever possibly broke in. I began to check everywhere around where they could have been, and I found nothing. I thought maybe they got away until I realized they couldn't have, and that I would have cornered them at the dock, which is connected to the pond. I was visibly confused because none of what I saw made sense. I thought back on it. It only had legs, it looked too human to be an animal, and too animal to be a human, if that makes any sense. It left no footprints in the grass, and it seemed to disappear as soon as I got out of my truck. If it were a human/animal, I would have seen it run around the pond or anywhere else for that matter. I was kind of terrified. I quickly ran into my house, and as soon as I got in, I checked the windows and doors, which were all locked. My parents were even watching a movie in the living room with the dogs, who bark at anything that moves or makes noise. I asked them if they saw or heard anything, and they both said no. I tried to sleep that night, but I felt haunted. I got up, grabbed my bat and flashlight again, and headed out the back door. No sooner than opening the door, I saw those legs again, this time much clearer. They had no body, no head, were definitely human, and were heading straight at me. I couldn't move. The legs literally ran through me into the house. I stood there for quite a while in complete shock. I finally turned and went into the house. As you might guess, there was nothing in the kitchen but two Dobermans staring at me curiously. The next morning, I told my parents the story. They tried to be understanding, but in the end wrote it off as a bad dream. I saw this torso-ous figure one other time a couple months later, which happened to be under the same circumstances. This time, however, it was on the other side of the pond, moving along the edge of the water towards the road. My best friend has also seen it on the property, and she describes it similar to how I saw it the second time. I don't know what to make of this. My parents still live in that house and have never seen these strange white legs. What do you think, Ron? Samuel McCarthy, New York. Well, I read your story a couple times, and I can honestly say I don't know what to think. My best guess is that it's some sort of residual haunting. Have you ever researched your house to see if anything happened in its past that could explain it? If you need any help with that, I'd be happy to look into it for you. Thank you, Sam, for sharing your story. Well, that's all we have time for this week. If you have a story that you want to share, like Sam did, head to the main website at ronsamazingstories.com, click on the story submission banner, leave your story, give it a title, and please tell me where you're from. I'll read it if I can. Our featured story for this time comes from the classic radio series, The Shadow. The title alone should make you want to listen. The Case of the Three Frightened Policemen. This is actually a really good story and lends more towards the original concept of the Shadow, which is a man about town sworn to protect the little guy. In this episode, the Shadow is played by William Johnstone, who happens to be my favorite, with Orson Welles as a close second. The case of the three frightened policemen first aired on November 16th, 1941.
Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The Shadow knows.
The thrilling adventures of the Shadow are on the air, brought to you each week at this time by your neighborhood blue coal dealer. These dramatizations are designed to demonstrate forcibly to old and young alike that crime does not pay. The old saying, better be safe than sorry, certainly applies today in the matter of heating your home. If your coal bin isn't already filled to the top, call your friendly neighborhood blue coal dealer and have him attend to the matter right now. Blue coal, you know, is the quality home fuel of low cost. It will give you even, dependable heat at all times. Yes, and it's a wise move to have your bin full of blue coal clear to the top. These are uncertain times, and it's best to be safe. Don't gamble with the health of your family. Remember, a warm house is a healthy house. So get in touch with your nearest blue coal dealer tomorrow. The Shadow, mysterious character who aids the forces of law and order, is in reality Lamont Cranston, wealthy young man about town. Several years ago in the Orient, Cranston learned a strange and powerful secret. The secret of hypnotic power to cloud men's minds so that they cannot see him. Cranston's friend and companion, the lovely Margot Lane, is the only person who knows to whom the voice of the invisible Shadow belongs. Today's drama, The Case of the Three Frightened Policemen.
Why fool around? You got to get up early in the morning to put one over on Jerry Rowan. I got you right where I want you. Now you take your orders from me, or... Stop that walking up and down. You make me nervous. Well, what's your answer going to be? You going to pay your little gambling debt to Jerry Rowan? Are you? Now, listen. Listen to me. It's all right. Don't come any closer. Stay from me. You can't kill Jerry Rowan.
What time is Commissioner Weston's plane getting in, Lamont?
Well, according to the...
Non-stop flight 36, arriving from Washington at gate 6.
There you are, Margot. You see how efficient the airlines are? They even answer your questions for you. Gate 6 is up this way.
Do you think Commissioner Weston's going to be difficult to persuade?
Well, you know him as well as I do, Margot. But he'll never forgive you for sending that telegram with my name on it.
Oh, here we are. Gate 6.
Yeah. And that would be the commissioner's plane.
Flight 22 from Chicago, arriving at gate 3.
Look, Lamont, there's the Chicago plane coming in, too. Don't they come in fast, though?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Lamont, look.
What are you staring at, Margot? You act like you've never seen a plane before.
Well, I'm not looking at the plane, Lamont. I was looking at that man over there at gate 3. Isn't he the man who we heard asking for Commissioner Weston?
Where? Oh, yes, so it is.
Oh, we ought to tell him he's waiting at the wrong gate for the commissioner.
You'll probably discover his mistake before we could get to him, Margot.
Oh, there you are, Cranston, Miss Lane.
Hello, Commissioner. Did you have a nice trip?
No, thanks. I just had one.
Oh, Commissioner, that's an old gag.
Well, it's not as old as that telegram gag you sent me, Cranston. Come immediately. Very important. What did you mean by that? What did you mean by that?
It was Margot's idea. She sent it.
Margot sent the wire?
Commissioner, you know that I belong to the Social Welfare Association.
Now, what has that got to do with it?
Well, I promised that I'd get you to speak on crime prevention. It's cause and cure.
What?
Curing crime prevention? I don't blame you, Commissioner. It sounds a little mad to me, too.
A speech on crime prevention.
Oh, well, please say you'll do it. I gave my solemn promise that
Well,
you'd
this
be
is
there.
the limit of all the
You're
nonsense.
making a mistake. I'm not Tom Vitor. Aren't you?
What's that over there?
Well, if you're not Vitor, you can prove it later at headquarters.
There seems to be some trouble, Commissioner.
Yes, it does.
Why, that's the man who was looking for you, Commissioner.
Looking for me, huh? Oh, he's just picked up someone. All right, folks, stand back there. Let me through.
Don't mind me, please.
Make way there, please. Let me in there.
You can't do this to me.
What's going on
I can't
here?
do this. Oh, Commissioner Weston. I just picked this guy up coming in from Chicago.
Fine. Who is he? Incidentally, who are you?
Detective Sloan of the Detroit Force. And this is the murderer of the gambler, Jerry Rowan. His name is Tom Vitor.
I'm not Vitor.
Commissioner, look at this photograph in this police circular. Is this Vitor?
It's just a similarity, I tell you.
Wait a minute. Similarity, huh? Come on, Vito. We're going down to headquarters. Let us through here, please.
Commissioner, wait! Commissioner, I've got to talk to you.
Miss Lane, this is business. Come on, Vito.
But the social welfare is going to... Oh, Don.
What's the matter, Margot? Did the Social Welfare Association lose its principal speaker?
Not yet, it hasn't. I'm going to follow Commissioner Weston right to police headquarters and get him to say that he will speak tomorrow night.
Fingerprints don't lie, Vitor. Ready to confess now?
Why did you kill Gambler Rowan?
I didn't kill Rowan.
But you do admit you are Vito. That you broke your parole and flew to Chicago after you'd murdered Rowan?
All right, I broke my parole. I flew to Chicago, but I didn't murder Rowan.
I'd like to ask Vitor a few questions, if I may, Commissioner
Now,
Weston.
Cranston, Detective Sloan and I can handle this.
Oh, Commissioner, I just thought of something.
What, Miss Lane? What now?
You could use all this as the subject of your talk tomorrow night before the Social Welfare Association.
Sloan, take Vita into the other office. This small talk must be boring to him.
Right, Commissioner. Come on, Vitor, in here.
I didn't do
I'm
anything.
sorry, Mac.
Ah, well, another case solved to the department's credit.
Who? Vitor?
Who else? He was the last man who saw Rowan alive.
Now, look, Commissioner.
I know, Cranston. Yes, indeed. You're going to ask about fingerprints. Well, we found Vita's prints all over Rowan's apartment.
Very good, Commissioner.
Huh?
But I was going to ask why Vitor broke his parole to fly to Chicago.
Very good, Cranston. He simply wanted to get away.
Then why did he come back?
Also very good. What?
Granted, he had killed Rowan and gotten away. Why should he want to come back here?
Yes, Commissioner. Why didn't he stay in Chicago?
Now, please, Miss Lane.
And this police circular is a very curious thing, Commissioner.
What do you mean, Cranston? What's wrong with it?
Pardon me, Commissioner, but I think Vitor is about ready to talk now.
Oh, good. Well, I'll go right in and see him. See you later, Cranston.
But, Commissioner...
Miss Lane, come on.
But, Commissioner, I wanted to... I like him. Oh, well. Now, what were you going to say about that police circular, Lamont?
Now, look at it, Margot. Wouldn't you think it strange that a police circular from Chicago would have been printed here?
Why, yes. Look, here's the printer's trademark. Well, what does it mean, Lamont?
It means, Margot, that Tom Vitor is going to receive a little visit from the shadow.
Tom Vitor.
What's that? I heard a voice.
It is the voice of the shadow, Tom Vitor.
I can't see you.
I'm right here outside your cell door. I've cast a hypnotic mist over your mind, which makes me invisible.
I've heard of you, Shadow. You gotta help me. I didn't kill Jerry Rowan.
Why did you leave town the same day Rowan was murdered?
I didn't know anything about Rowan's murder, Shadow.
But you had been to Rowan's apartment that afternoon?
Yes, Rowan had sent for me. He wanted me to join the mob again, but I refused. That was the last I saw of him.
And yet, that same evening, Mr. Vitor, you violated your parole by flying to Chicago.
Well, when I got back to my apartment, there was a message telling me that my wife was there. She left me. I had to tell her that I was gone straight for her sake.
So that's why you went to Chicago?
Yes, to ask her to give me another chance.
I see. Then why did you come back, Mr. Vitor?
I couldn't find her in Chicago. Then I received another tip that she'd come back here and was staying at the Carlson Hotel with her friend Elsie Randley.
What you've told me, Mr. Vitor, wouldn't stand a chance in a court of law.
Court or no court, it's true.
We shall see, Mr. Vitor. We shall see.
Lamont, did you find anything out from Vitor?
I don't know yet, Margot. Oh, by the way, where's Shrevey?
He's waiting in his cab around the corner.
Well, let's find him.
All right. Oh, I'm getting hungry, Lamont. Do you think you could possibly buy a poor little starving social worker some dinner?
Well, I shall buy a poor little starving social worker a big dinner.
Oh, Lamont.
Later.
Oh, Lamont.
Right now, the Shadow is going to call on Mrs. Tom Vitor and her friend Elsie Randley at the Carlson Hotel.
Oh, well, then we could have dinner there, couldn't we, Lamont?
Oh, why, yes, we could. Later.
Oh, Lamont!
Down, Margot. They're firing at us.
Oh, we can get off the street now, Lamont. Looks like the shooting's over. Lamont. Lamont! Well, he's been hit.
What's the matter, lady?
Get a doctor quickly. He's been shot.
Cranston, you had a very narrow escape. A fraction of an inch to the right and...
Thanks, Doctor. I fully realize how close it was.
Can I help you, Lamont?
Doggone it, Cranston. This only goes to prove what I've always said. Amateurs shouldn't meddle in police work.
Now, you leave him alone, Commissioner. Can't you see he's still weak?
What were you doing outside police headquarters in the middle of a gunfight anyway?
Commissioner, I wasn't in the middle of a gunfight. I was the target.
And if you ask any more questions, you're going to be my target, Commissioner.
Please. Who's out for you, Cranston?
I have a hunch it's got something to do with Tom Vito and the Rowan murder.
So Vito shot at you, huh? We've got him under lock and key.
No, it wasn't Vito who took a shot at me.
Now, look here, Cranston. Vito is the killer, and that's that. Let's not confuse...
Commissioner.
What is it, Sloan?
Vito has hanged himself from a water pipe in his cell.
Hanged himself?
No.
Such a thing is impossible.
Well, I'm telling you, Commissioner...
Just a moment. Then it would appear Vito took his own life?
Obviously. Oh, yes, that's right. His only out was to cheat the chair.
Well, gentlemen, if Vito committed suicide, we have a horse here of a decidedly different color.
In a moment, our play will continue. Meanwhile, let's leave the world of the mysterious and hop right into the sphere of everyday affairs. There's certainly nothing that's more an everyday affair than heating your home in the winter. Every day in the long winter months, you want dependable, even heat throughout your house. Blue coal will give it to you. Blue coal is the dependable fuel of low cost because it burns better, lasts longer, and that means real economy. What's more, blue coal makes comfortable home heating not only simple and economical, but also easy. Right, easy is just the word. You see, blue coal is delivered to your home in exactly the right size for your heating plant. Then, too, the new automatic blue coal heat regulator cuts out those frequent damper-adjusting trips you're probably familiar with. Cuts them right out because it automatically opens and closes the dampers on your furnace and keeps every room at an even temperature. Get in touch with your reliable neighborhood blue coal dealer right away. Ask him to come out and discuss your heating situation with you. You'll find him a genial, well-informed businessman. A number of people impressed by this have told us blue coal is represented by an especially fine group of men. This is true, and something every dealer is proud of. So look under the words blue coal in the yellow section of your classified phone directory and call your neighborhood dealer tomorrow. Now, back to the Shadow.
Hey, Mr. Cranston, Miss Lane. It's already 3 o'clock in the morning. It's already. Don't you think it's advisable that we should all go home and get a little shut-eye we should get?
Perhaps we ought to take Miss Lane home, Shrevey. She's sound asleep here in the back seat.
No, I'm not. I'm wide awake. I just closed my eyes to rest them.
Okay, Margot, have it your way. On to 6078 Front Street, Shrevey.
Yes, sir. Mine is not the reason why.
That's the city morgue,
It's
Shrevey.
just to do or die. The morgue?
Watch where you're driving, Shrevey.
As if I wouldn't from now on, as if.
Why the morgue, Lamont?
Because I can't believe, as Commissioner Weston does, that Vito committed suicide. I want to see the body myself.
I don't like to bring it up, but this is 6078 Front Street. The morgue, remember?
Very well, Shrevey. Oh, and Margot, I think you'd better stay here and guard Shrevey. He's a little green around the gills.
Oh, Lamont.
Oh, yes, Miss Lane, around the gills, but not a little.
Shrevey, you're a big baby.
I won't be long, Margot.
Well, see that you aren't, Lamont.
What can I do for you, young man? If you're looking for a room and bath, I can't accommodate you. You ain't the right type.
Very funny.
I think so. Room and bath, right type. Get it?
I'd like to see the body of Tom Vitor, which was brought in here earlier this evening.
Oh, Tom Vitor, huh? Let's see.
I would like to see the body, please.
Now, don't be impatient, young man. He'll wait for you. Get it? He'll wait for you.
I get it. Now, will you please take me to the body?
Oh. No sense of humor. All right this way. Don't be surprised if he don't recognize you because he... Oh, no, you wouldn't appreciate it. Yes, here we are. Let me see. All right, step in.
Thanks.
Now, let me see. I think we have your friend packed way up here. Yeah. Here's your friend, mister, tucked neatly away on his little trundle bed of ice. You want to look?
Yes. Just as I thought.
What?
This man didn't die of hanging.
Death caused by strangulation at his own hands, it says here.
I don't care what it says there. He didn't commit suicide. Tom Vitor met his death just as Jerry Rowan did, by murder.
Did you learn anything at the morgue, Lamont?
Enough, Margot, to know that the Shadow's next step is to have Mrs. Tom Vitor identify her husband's photograph, which appears on this forged police circular.
Hello? Hello? Oh, all right, operator. I'll call later. Oh.
Whom were you calling on the phone, Mrs. Vitor?
What? I thought I heard a voice.
It is the Shadow's voice, Mrs. Vitor.
Who are you? I can't see you.
I've clouded your mind with a hypnotic mist, making me invisible to your eyes.
Oh, I see. But why have you come here, Shadow?
Because I know that you can tie up several loose ends of a mystery.
Well, I don't know how I can help.
You can help by telling me who you were trying to reach on the telephone just now.
Why, it was Elsie Randley, my roommate. She's staying with me here. She hasn't returned home, and I just got worried.
I see. Look at the picture on this police circular, Mrs. Victor.
Why, it's Tom, my husband.
Have you ever seen this particular photograph before?
Yes. I took it about 5 years ago.
Before you decided to divorce your husband, Mrs. Vitor?
You know that, too?
I do. Why did you run away, Mrs. Vitor?
Well, my love for Tom had died,
And you fell in love with somebody else?
Yes.
Why didn't you explain everything to your husband?
Oh, I wanted to, Shadow, but I was persuaded not to. I'll go to him now. He'll understand.
No, Mrs. Vitor. It's too late now.
Too late?
Your husband is dead.
Oh, no. No.
Your husband was murdered.
Tom was...
Murdered, Mrs. Vitor. And you can help me catch his murderer by telling me who could have obtained the photograph which appears in this forged police circular.
Yes. Yes, Shadow. The only person who could have stolen that picture from me is... Oh!
Mrs. Vitor!
Oh.
Mrs. Vitor!
I knew he'd do this. He's very determined, Shadow.
Who, Mrs. Vitor? Who has done this?
I can't tell now, Shadow. 'Cause it'd haunt me even after death. Even after death.
So, Commissioner, you think at last you have the real murderer under lock and key.
Who else could it be but Elsie Randley?
After all, Mr. Cranston, she was Mrs. Vita's roommate, and besides, she had good reason to kill her.
Really? What reason?
Cranston, try to follow. Elsie Randley killed Mrs. Vita because...
Commissioner Weston?
Yes?
I'm Lieutenant Destro of the Chicago Detective Bureau.
What can I do for you, Lieutenant?
A little explaining. Why did you pick up Tom Vitor for the murder of Jerry Rowan?
Because his police circular demanding his arrest was sent out by your office.
That circular was forged.
What? Just what I was trying to tell you, Commissioner. The real murderer was trying to throw suspicion on Tom Vitor.
So what? The murderer is Elsie Randley, and I've got her in the state prison.
You think so, Commissioner?
Sure. She killed Rowan because he gave her the brush off. She used to be his girlfriend. Then she killed Mrs. Vito because she was afraid Mrs. Vito would spill it to the police. Simple enough.
There's just one little point you gentlemen seem to have overlooked.
What?
Who killed Tom Vito?
He killed himself.
Commissioner, Tom Vito was beaten to death in the same way that Rowan was.
What?
It was a very professional job. You couldn't tell his head had been bashed in unless you examined it very carefully. I saw his body in the morgue.
Cranston, I tell you, Elsie Randley is the killer, and I'm sticking to it. What do you think, Sloan?
That's the way I figure it, Chief.
How do you feel about it, Destro?
Sounds logical to me.
All sticking your necks out together, eh? Well, Commissioner, if anything happens to Miss Elsie Randley, your so-called killer, you're going to be 3 frightened policemen.
Lamont, are you sure that Elsie Randley is completely innocent?
Margot, I think she's innocent, but I have reason to believe she knows the name of the murderer. And because of this knowledge, he'll try to silence her, too.
But she's perfectly safe. She's locked up.
That didn't save Tom Vito, Margot. We've got to protect her. Now, look, I want you to go to the state prison and get to Elsie Randley's cell while I trail Detective Destro. I don't care how you get to her cell, but do it. Her life depends on it.
Here we are, Miss Lane. Elsie Randley's cell.
It's dark in here at this time of night.
Yes. Oh, now, before we go in, I must warn you again that neither the warden nor Commissioner Weston know that I'm letting you see Miss Randley. It would mean my job if they did.
Oh, I understand, Detective Sloan.
Go in, please.
Thank you.
Who's your friend, Detective?
Miss Randley, meet Miss Lane. You two are going to be together a long time.
What do you mean?
I'm getting sick of this whole thing, Sloan. I don't want to go to the chair for... Somebody else?
Well, then tell us who the real murderer is, Miss Randley. Don't shield a killer.
I don't squeal, sister.
But you will, Elsie.
Oh, no, I won't. I gave my promise.
You'll break your promise, Elsie, when the electric chair stares you in the face.
Oh, he's right, Miss Randley. Tell the police what you know.
Yes, Elsie, tell. You can tell Miss Lane everything.
Are you kidding?
Elsie is trying to say that I'm the killer, Miss Lane.
You're the killer?
Yes. I killed Rowan because I owed him a gambling debt and couldn't pay it.
What?
So I sent Vito to Chicago on a wild goose chase to find his wife. That way, I pinned the murder on him.
Are you crazy? Spilling that, Sloan?
But the police circular.
I had the phony circular made up in order to grab him when he got off the plane. You know, I'm proud of the fact that when I beat him to death in this very room and hanged him from that water pipe, that none of the smart cops knew how it was done.
And you must have killed Mrs. Vito, too.
Mrs. Vito made a very useful tool until she outlived her usefulness and wanted to squeal to the police. But enough of that. I have a score to settle with you two now.
Now, wait, Joe. You can't do this.
You won't have to watch long, Elsie. You're going to die first, Miss Lane. Now, we just open this door here to the death chamber.
Well, that's the electric chair in there.
Sloan, you can't do this.
No, help! Help! Come on!
Scream all you want, Miss Lane. We're quite alone here. No one will hear you.
What are you going to do with us?
Aren't you both rather impatient?
Mr. Cranston will stop you. He'll...
I promise my shots won't miss that meddler the second time. And now, Miss Lane, into the electric chair you go.
Oh, no!
Oh, yes.
No!
Yes.
No!
Yes.
No!
There, now. Now to tie the straps.
Oh, no, you don't, Sloan.
Stick up behind me, will you? I don't think so.
Oh.
Too bad, Miss Lane, that I'm your only audience now. That I'll be a very appreciative one. And now to pull the switch. It generates a little power.
Oh, no! No, please!
Please. And this
No!
little switch will complete the job.
No!
Dead so soon, my dear? You spoiled my fun. I didn't even pull the switch. Well, a little extra juice won't hurt you. I just have to...
Not so fast, Detective Sloan.
That voice, my arm. Who holds my arm?
The shadow murderer. What have you done to Miss Lane?
Something that even you can't mend, Shadow.
Sloan, your life of crime is at an end.
If it is, I won't pay the police for the deaths of Rowan and the Vitos, and above all, Miss Lane. The privilege of taking my own life rests with me.
Get away from that master switch.
Thanks, no, Shadow. I'd rather go this way.
Thank heaven, Margot. When you fainted, Sloan thought you were dead and didn't complete his job.
Yes, thank heaven, Lamont.
I'll never forgive myself for sending you to that trap when I was stupidly following the trail of Detective Destro.
He was perfectly all right?
Perfectly. It was Sloan who had no right to wear a badge. He'd gotten on the Detroit force with the aid of false credentials. Sooner or later, he would have been discovered, but now his days of killing are over.
Oh, Lamont, I just thought of something.
What?
I got a call from the Social Service League again this morning, and they're holding another meeting.
Oh, good for them.
They want to know why I didn't get Commissioner Weston to speak to them the last time.
Uh-huh. On crime prevention, its cause and cure?
Yes. So I told them I was getting someone else, someone better.
Who's the poor goat this time, Margot?
I told them I was getting you.
Well, that's right. Oh, no, you're not, Margot.
Oh, yes, I am, Lamont.
In a moment, we'll bring you a real-life episode proving that crime does not pay. First, I'm sure you'll be interested in hearing from Blue Coal's distinguished home heating expert, John Barclay. Mr. Barclay.
Thank you. Friends, quite a few people have told me that they're tired of playing nursemaid to their furnace. I wonder if you feel the same way. You must if you find it necessary to hop down to the basement several times a day to fuss and fool around with the furnace, adjust the dampers, and try to wheedle a good supply of heat out of a lazy fire. Now, all that's unnecessary. It certainly is. Actually, when you know the correct method of operating a furnace, the whole thing is perfectly easy. Now, here's my suggestion. Get in touch with your neighborhood blue coal dealer and ask him to send a John Barclay-trained serviceman to your home right away. This man will teach you correct furnace operation in a jiffy and at absolutely no charge. It won't cost you a cent, and you need feel under no obligation. Homeowners the country over are making use of this free and exclusive blue coal dealer service. So why don't you? Decide right now to call your blue coal dealer tomorrow. He's listed under the words Blue Coal in the yellow section of your classified phone directory. You'll find it pays to get acquainted with the Blue Coal way. Thank you.
The characters, names, places, and plot in today's story are purely fictitious, and any similarity to persons living or dead is purely coincidental. Direct from real life, we now bring you conclusive proof that crime does not pay. It is 4 p.m., November 7th. Anthony Tyshan, 26, leader of a hold-up gang, is on his way to a meeting of the mob. He says to himself,
So the cops think they know something, do they? They put out posters. Wanted for robbery. They ought to make that plural. We got 30 jobs in the book, yeah, and they ain't gonna never stick me in no stir. Say, who's this guy coming down the street? Looks like a cop. No, he don't. Here's a house. Right through that plate glass window. He's coming after me. He's a cop, all right. Well, I'll go through the house and out the back door.
You think you can get away so easily, Anthony Tyshan? No, indeed. The law will follow a criminal to the ends of the earth.
I gotta get out of here. He's gonna catch me. I'm going through this window.
So, sprawled out and dying, with a bullet in his back, another gangster criminal wrote finish to a brief career of law defiance. The weed of crime bears bitter fruit. Crime does not pay. The shadow knows.
Next week, same time, same station, the DL&W Coal Company, producers of Blue Coal, bring you another strange and thrilling adventure in the Shadow's daring battle against the forces of evil. Be sure to listen, and be sure to phone your neighborhood Blue Coal dealer for greater heating comfort at less cost. Remember, keep the home fires burning with Blue Coal.
Well, there you have it. pretty good story with even a happy ending. Also, quite rare for these shows is that all of the original commercials were still intact, which means you heard it just as it played back in 1941. How about that? The Shadow ran from 1937 to 1954 on many different networks. The title character, a caped vigilante, was also featured in the Shadow magazine and was one of the most enduring and influential creations of the pulp era. The Shadow was originally created as the narrator of the 1930 radio show Detective Story Hour, a program that was intended to promote Street and Smith's magazine Detective Story. The Shadow was bought by DC Comics and is still going strong today. Are you ready for another story? This one is being brought to us by Gladys Goodies. Good treats for your dog to eat. They use all natural products with no sugar, preservatives, salts, or harmful ingredients. So check out their online store at GladysGoodies.com. That is GladysGoodies.com. And don't forget to use our very own promo code, RONS, to get a 20% discount on all of your purchases. That is RONS. Thank you, Gladys.
Johnny, is this true?
As you know by now, I like to surf the internet to find the strange and unusual. I do this in the name of the podcast, but the truth is, I would do it anyway, even if there was no podcast. What you're about to hear is...
Johnny, is this true?
I will tell you a story and then ask the question, did I make it up or is it true? Your job is to decide. Let's get started.
Johnny, is this true?
This time on Johnny, Is It True? We're going to play Did You Know? However, as always, I'm not above making things up. So you're gonna have to figure out if I'm preaching the truth or spinning a yarn. Let's get started. Fact 1. Did you know that turkeys were once worshipped like gods? If this is true, that would make Thanksgiving a whole new concept. This is true. But today, things have changed for the big bird. The turkey is America's favorite part of the Thanksgiving meal. However, in 300 BC, they were heralded by the Mayan people as vessels of the gods and were honored as such. So much so that they were domesticated to have roles in religious rites. They were symbols of power and prestige that can be found everywhere in Mayan iconography and archaeology. Fact number 2. Did you know that in the past days of the Olympics, there were events for the fine arts? Surely this is something that I made up. Nope, I didn't. From 1912 to 1948, the Olympic Games held competitions in the fine arts. Medals were given for literature, architecture, sculpture, painting, and music. Naturally, the arts created were required to be of an Olympic theme. According to the founder of the modern Olympics, Pierre de Friday, the addition of the arts was necessary because the ancient Greeks used to hold art festivals alongside the games. How about that? Eventually, the events were removed, but not before 151 medals were awarded. Fact number 3. Did you know that Napoleon was once attacked by a horde of bunnies? Okay, I know the silliness of that statement alone means I must be kidding. I know it's hard to believe, but this one is true. Once upon a time, the famous conqueror Napoleon Bonaparte was attacked by bunnies. The emperor had requested that a rabbit hunt be arranged for himself and his men. His chief of staff set it up and had the men round up reportedly 3,000 rabbits for the occasion. When the rabbits were released from their cages, the hunt was ready to go. At least that was the plan. But the bunnies, well, they charged towards Bonaparte and his men in a vicious and unstoppable onslaught. And we were taught that Waterloo was the conqueror's greatest defeat. Fact 4. We've all seen the commercials, but did you know that Captain Morgan actually existed? Was he a real guy? And did he like his rum spicy? The truth is, the captain is a historical character. The face of the well-loved rum brand was totally a real guy. He was a Welsh privateer who fought alongside the English against the Spanish in the Caribbean in the 1660s and 1670s. His first name was Henry, and he was knighted by King Charles II of England. His exact birth date is unknown, but it had to be somewhere around 1635. He died in Jamaica in 1688, apparently a very rich man. History describes Morgan as a man of courage, determination, bravery, and charisma. He was a planner, a brilliant military strategist, and intensely loyal to the King of England and to Jamaica. Well, there you have it, a Did You Know edition of Johnny, Is It True? If you want to take part in one of these fact-finding missions, just drop me an email. Thank you for listening.
2 beans times 2 beans is 4 beans. Nescafe uses lots more beans. 10 beans times 4 beans, and add 3 more beans, make 43 rich coffee beans. Yes, you get 43 beans in every cup of Nescafe real coffee beans. That's all there is in Nescafe. 43 beans in every cup. Make Nescafe the all-coffee instant coffee with the let's have another cup taste.
Extra bean means extra flavor. Today's Nescafe goes all the way for flavor with 43 choice beans in every cup.
Did you know that was episode number 543 and we just keep rolling on? This week I want to thank Samuel McCarthy for his story and to remind all of you to send in your stories. I need them. If you want to follow the podcast or the blog, head to ronsamazingstories.com. There you will find any of the links I mentioned and how to contact us. Do you want to help the show? The best thing you can do is to tell your friends all about it, and please leave reviews or feedback wherever you listen. Clicking that follow or like button makes us grow. Thank you for listening, and I hope you come again to find out what are Ron's Amazing Stories.
All of the vintage audio used in the podcast is believed to be in the public domain. Ron's Amazing Stories does not own the rights to any of the old-time radio used here. If you hold the rights to any of the shows played, please contact us immediately at ronsamazingstories.com.